The unforgiving fields of Egypt's western deserts. For centuries they had provided a means to life for local herders, but in recent decades a curse for those who've dared cross them. Beneath the dry lands lie an estimated 16 million landmines and unexploded munitions, a horrifying legacy of World War II battles at el-Alamein more than 65 years ago, still being felt today. It was one of these munitions that ABDULLAH SHEHABY picked up while he was one day farming. The explosion claimed his arm and maimed his face, shattering his life and making most of his daily tasks unbearably difficult.
Every day I see people's reactions when they see my arm and my face. They get scared. This affects me greatly. I've struggled to find a job and earn a living. I'm only able to work because my friend hired me out of compassion.
In 1942, Egypt was still under the colonial control of Great Britain. It was in the country's western deserts that British, Italian and German militaries buried millions of landmines in an attempt to slow down advancing forces. El-Alamein was the site of historic battles that helped change the course of World War II and of history. According to the Egyptian government, World War II-era landmines and munitions have victimized nearly 8,000 people. And despite the Egyptian military's demining efforts, the government is in need of new technologies and financial assistance in clearing large swaths of lands. It estimates that demining the el-Alamein battlefields alone could cost $20 billion. Not only are the minefields a humanitarian hazard, they are a huge obstacle to the economic development of Egypt's coast, believed to be rich in oil and gas reserves and potentially lucrative tourism destinations. European powers have spent millions on building memorials like this one behind me to honor their soldiers who died on Egypt's northern coast. But the people here we've been speaking to say those same governments have paid little to help the Egyptians that are still living amidst the landmines left behind from their war. Egyptian activist AMER wants to change that by holding the British government accountable in a European court. For years, he has gathered the most comprehensive database on landmine victims in Egypt.
The largest number of landmines planted in Egypt were done by the British military. Therefore, the British government is responsible legally, criminally, and morally for clearing the minefields and landmines, paying compensation, accepting accountability, and apologizing.
Living amid the threat of landmines has transcended generations for the MUSSA family. HAJJ Musa remembers the war as a young child, but more tragically, he remembers 30 years ago when his 2 children and nephew were killed in a landmine explosion on their way back from school one day.
These landmines have claimed a lot of people's life. It is the British that is responsible for clearing them. No one has held them accountable, and no one here has been given compensation.
While holding the British government legally accountable for a war that has been over for decades may prove challenging, the victims and the activists are determined. Their battle for justice and compensation, they say, is only beginning. Ayman Moyheldin, Al Jazeera, el-Alamein.